player. Hope the brother comes, hope he gets paid. But the Knicks are acting like he's KD.
It's an awful idea. And Jalen Brunson's a fine player.
If your best player is small, you're not winning.
The 2026 NBA Finals MVP is the captain, Jalen Brunson.
June 13th, 2026. Fourth quarter in San Antonio. The Knicks were down 10 points, staring at the possibility of a Game 6. Alright guys, this series had become a test of survival. Every round, every game, New York had been forced to walk directly into danger and somehow emerge stronger. But with 8 minutes remaining, none of that mattered. The championship was slipping away. Then Jalen Brunson took over. 10 straight points. Complete control of the moment. And suddenly, the pressure shifted entirely onto the Spurs. With just over a minute remaining, Brunson delivered the shot that changed everything. The basket that gave New York the lead for good. Moments later, the final buzzer sounded and history exploded across the court. The New York Knicks were NBA champions for the first time since 1973. 53 years of waiting had finally ended. Brunson finished with 45 points and earned unanimous Finals MVP honors. Only Michael Jordan, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Bob Pettit, and now Jalen Brunson had ever scored 45 points in a championship clinching game. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. While New York celebrated its greatest basketball moment in decades, there was someone watching who wasn't surprised at all. Someone who had predicted this outcome long before the rest of the basketball world caught on. Derrick Rose knew, not because of analytics, not because of statistics, and not because of championship projections. He knew because he had watched Jalen Brunson's journey begin long before NBA scouts paid attention, long before the spotlight ever found him. To understand why Derrick Rose believed in Brunson, we have to go back years before Madison Square Garden. Years before playoff runs and Finals MVP trophies. The connection started in Chicago, when Tom Thibodeau became head coach of the Bulls in 2010. One of his first decisions was bringing Rick Brunson onto his coaching staff. Rick, a respected NBA veteran known for his basketball IQ, relocated his family to Chicago. Included in that move was a teenage kid named Jalen Brunson. At the time, Brunson wasn't viewed as a future superstar. He was simply a coach's son spending countless hours around NBA practices. He attended high school in the suburbs while regularly finding himself inside professional basketball environments. Day after day, he watched practices, observed veteran routines, and absorbed everything around him. One of the players he spent the most time watching was Derrick Rose. At that moment, Rose wasn't just a star. He was becoming a basketball phenomenon. Derrick Rose represented everything young players dreamed about. Explosive speed, fearless attacks to the basket, athletic gifts that seemed impossible to defend. Coming from Chicago's South Side, Rose had become the face of the Bulls and eventually the youngest MVP in NBA history. Every night felt like a highlight reel. Defenders couldn't stay in front of him. Coaches couldn't slow him down. And somewhere in the background, a young Jalen Brunson was studying every detail of how Rose approached the game. Years later, Rose would reflect on those gym sessions. He remembered constantly seeing Brunson working. Not occasionally, not when it was convenient. Constantly. The friendship between them developed naturally, but what stood out most was Brunson's commitment. Rose quickly realized this wasn't just another coach's kid hanging around NBA players. There was something different about him. Something serious. According to Brunson's high school coach, Derrick became a mentor, helping shape how Jalen viewed basketball from an early age. Nobody was writing articles about Brunson back then. Nobody was predicting Finals MVP trophies or championship banners. He wasn't viewed as a future face of the league. But Derrick Rose saw something others missed. He saw a player who understood the game, a player whose intelligence often mattered more than physical tools. That observation would become incredibly important years later when Brunson entered the NBA and immediately faced questions about his athleticism and overall ceiling. Fast forward to 2022, Brunson signed with the Knicks on a contract many critics considered an overpay. Analysts questioned whether a former second-round pick could truly become the centerpiece of a major franchise. But before Brunson even played his first game in New York, Derrick Rose publicly defended him. Rose described Brunson as a winner, a player whose basketball IQ separated him from everyone else, someone who always found a way to get the job done regardless of circumstances. What made Rose's comments remarkable was their timing. He wasn't reacting to success. He wasn't praising Brunson after an all-star appearance. This was before any of the evidence existed, before playoff heroics, before MVP conversations, before national attention. Rose was making a declaration based entirely on years of observation. He had watched Brunson develop behind the scenes and understood something the basketball world didn't yet recognize. The tools were already there. People simply weren't looking closely enough. By the 2025-26 season, the rest of the league finally caught up. Brunson averaged 26 points and nearly 7 assists, while leading a Knicks roster loaded with talent. Alongside Karl-Anthony Towns, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, and Josh Hart, New York transformed into a legitimate championship contender. Not a dark horse. Not a feel-good story. A real threat. Brunson controlled every aspect of the offense with patience, footwork, and decision-making that consistently punished opposing defenses. As the playoffs began, New York looked unstoppable. The Knicks marched through the Eastern Conference, eventually sweeping Cleveland to reach their first NBA Finals in nearly 3 decades. Brunson elevated his game once again, averaging over 25 points while earning Eastern Conference Finals MVP honors. The city was dreaming bigger than ever before, but standing between New York and history was a young, talented Spurs team led by Victor Wembanyama and one of the brightest futures in basketball. San Antonio refused to make things easy. The Spurs pushed New York to its limits. Game after game became a battle. Then came Game 4, where the Knicks erased a staggering 29-point deficit, producing the largest comeback in NBA Finals history. It was the kind of moment that championship teams create, the kind of moment that convinces everyone watching that destiny might actually be involved. Suddenly, New York was one win away from completing the impossible. Then came the masterpiece,